assistive device, like they've just come out of surgery or had a stroke or something like that. So to save time, I'm standing in the parallel bars. What's the first thing that you have?
Weight shift.
What's that?
Weight shifting.
So weight shifting is just shifting your weight back and forth. And why would you, how does this help to get ready for gait?
When you're walking,
Because this is what you do when you walk. When you do swing phase on the other side, you're shifting your weight to the opposite side. How can I make this a little bit more challenging?
Oh, take an arm off?
Yeah, so I can take an arm off, and then try to take both arms off and do weight shifting back and forth. Okay, what's next on your list?
Lift opposite upper and lower extremities
Okay.
alternately and simultaneously.
Okay, so I could be trying to lift one leg and the opposite hand. This kind of simulates the reciprocal arm swing type of thing. Okay, what's next?
Perform standing push-ups.
Okay, really, that's next.
Or actually, simultaneously. The brief movement is opposite.
Okay.
Alternately and simultaneously.
Okay, so that's what I just did. So you could do push-ups in the parallel bars, okay? Not doing dips. Okay, that's not what that means. So it's, what am I doing again? What movement?
Standing push-ups.
What's moving actually?
Scapular depression.
That's right. Okay, because you have to do that when you use an assistive device. Now, is there one more thing?
Practice the appropriate gait.
Okay, I want you to notice that. All the gait patterns I'm about to show you here, that's going to totally fry your brain in just a minute. All of those you can practice in the parallel bars. Okay, the first one I'm going to show you is called the 4-point gait pattern. You can do that in the parallel bars. I'm going to show you the 3-point non-weight bearing gait pattern. And you can do that. Every one that we look at, you can practice in the parallel bars first. All right, are you ready? I almost hate to do this the last thing before you leave, because you're going to feel discouraged and defeated in just a minute. But
Still?
I thought you were going in the parallel.
no, you can go back where you were. I'm going to use the floor right now.
Sit down.
Okay, I was going to finish my thought. Yeah, you're about to feel defeated and like there's no hope for you forever. But if you just stick with it, you'll get this. All right. So the names of the gait patterns I'm about to do, if you said these in the clinical setting, they would say, what? For some of these? So the titles aren't real commonly used, but the patterns are. So people do this all the time. All right, let's do the 4-point gait pattern first of all. Notice, first of all, how many assistive devices do I have?
2.
So to do a 4-point gait pattern, you have to have 2 or bilateral assistive devices. And it's a very slow gait, a very steady one, where you move one assistive device, the opposite foot, and just go back and forth doing that. So very slow. Who would use this type of gait pattern?
Somebody with cerebral palsy?
Yeah, somebody who has both lower extremities affected. So there's not one weak side, they're both weak. It's a very slow, very stable type of gait. All right, I think I'll go in a little bit different order. So let's drop down to 2-point gait pattern, because it's similar to that. So I'll start off doing 4-point, and notice what happens when I do a 2-point. Here's the 2-point. So now the assistive device and the opposite lower extremity are moving together. So again, here's 4 points. So they're moving separately. And then 2 points where they move together. Who would use a 2-point gait? Again, somebody who has bilateral weakness, like somebody with cerebral palsy or neurological condition. And actually, you see that gait often with what crutches?
The Canadian.
Also known as forearm crutches. Lock strand. So here's 2-point gait pattern. Okay, so this is somebody who doesn't need as much stability as the 4-point gait pattern. but still they have both lower extremities affected. All right, this one actually feels pretty natural. All right, here's where you're about to lose your vibes. Okay, let's go back to 4-point gait pattern, and right below that is what?
Modified.
Modified 4-point gait pattern. What do you notice that's immediately different?
Unilateral.
Good, you're on to a good start. Very good. All right, so the reason I have that one next is it's basically the same or similar to the 4-point gait pattern, but only with one assistive device. Okay, so I'm going to do 4-point for a while, and I'm going to take away one assistive device and do modified 4-point. All right, so here's 4 points. All right, now taking this away, and this is a modified 4-point gait pattern. All right, so I'll turn around and we'll talk this through a little bit. So with the modified 4-point, everything moves separately, right? Assistive device, opposite lower extremity, other lower extremity. So both lower extremities and the assistive device are moving separately. Is this a very common gait pattern? Yes, it is very common. It is very common with a cane of some kind. Okay, so now I've got, this is my affected side.
I
Ron?
was going to ask you, was you doing these demonstrations with taking the affected side into consideration?
I wasn't, but now I am.
All right.
Because I knew you were thinking that. I could feel your vibes coming in. All right, so I would move, and we're going to go in the order on Tuesday, but I'm moving the cane by itself, affected lower extremity, other lower extremity by itself. This is a modified 4-point gait. Very commonly used for somebody using a cane like for the first time. All right, now do you notice under modified 4-point that there's a couple of variations of it?
Step 2, step 3.
Yes. Okay. So that's what's happening with the unaffected extremity. I'm going to do a step 2 first of all. Okay, so I'm stepping to the assistive device with my unaffected extremity. That's a step 2. I wonder what a step through looks like.
Swing it
I go past the assistive device with my unaffected extremity. Still a modified 4-point gait. Just a step through versus a step 2. All right. Okay, I'm going to get through all of these before 1:30, so we'll just keep going. Okay, we got, remember the 2-point gait pattern? What do you notice about the modified 2-point gait pattern?
Unilateral.
Is that a yawn?
No.
Okay. What's true about the 2-point, modified 2-point?
Unilateral.
Unilateral again, all right? So I'm going to walk 2-point and take away the assistive device. Here's 2 points. Okay, here's modified 2-point. Okay, notice that the assistive device and opposite lower extremity are moving at the same time. Okay? Let me show you the difference between modified 4-point and modified 2-point. Here's modified 4-point, where they're moving separately. Here's modified 2-point, where they move together. Do we have a couple of variations
2 and 3.
of the modified 2-point?
Step 2, step 3.
Here's a step, oops, I should go the opposite side, right, Ron? Thank you. Here's a step 2. Modified 2-point, step 2. Modified 2-point, step 3. Is this used very commonly?
Yes.
Extremely commonly. Okay, modified 2, step 2. Modified 2-point, step 3. Very commonly used with the cane. All right. Anything to clarify about that at this point? Yes, Ridley.
When you do the modified 2-point, will the cane or the crutch always be on the unaffected side, unlike when it moves?
Yeah, and we'll get to that on Tuesday. But the cane goes opposite the affected extremity. Yeah. And we'll talk about why Tuesday. Okay, brings us to 3-point non-weight bearing, very straightforward. So now I'm non-weight bearing on my affected side. I put both crutches down and move my affected extremity. Why is it called 3-point?
3 points.
3 points touching the ground. Yeah. Okay, is there a variation on this one?
1, 2, 3.
Okay, we've got step 2, where I'm going even with the crutches, and then this would be what? Step 3. Step 3, right. Is this a very common type of gait pattern?
Yes.
Extremely common. Can I do it with a walker?
Yeah.
Except you can't do the variation anymore. So even though we've got now 5 points touching the ground, this is still called 3-point non-weight bearing gait. You can only do a step 2 with this one. Can I do it with a cane?
2, maybe.
Not even a 2. So you can't do a 3-point non-weight bearing gait pattern with a cane, or even with 2 canes.
So you say with the walker, that's the one that's got no variation, or is that with the cane?
You tell me. All right, can I do a step through with this?
No.
I'd have to do something with that.
Oh, bravo.
I don't know why I did that.
Trying to show off those calves.
Okay.
Very smooth. Very smooth.
3-point weight bearing. This is now where weight bearing is tolerated, or partial weight bearing, or full weight bearing. Okay, and we'll go through the sequence later. So I'm going to move the crutches and then step with both extremities. This is still called 3-point, but weight bearing, because I'm bearing weight. Is this one used very commonly?
Mm-hmm.
This is probably the most common gait pattern you're going to see. Got any variations on this? Yep. So I'm doing a step 2. And then a step through. Now there's another variation. I don't know if it's in your minutes.
So you're only stepping through with your unaffected leg. You're stepping 2 with the affected.
Yes, the effect is always going to
Okay.
go even with the assisted device. So the step 2 or step through is always referring to the unaffected extremity.
Okay.
Now notice there's another variation here. The first time I did it, I moved the crutches by themselves and then the affected and unaffected extremity. You can move the crutches and the affected extremity at the same time. This is still called a 3-point weight-bearing gait pattern. So we've really got 4 variations. You ready? Okay, so moving separately, crutches and affected extremity moving separately, doing a step 2. Same thing except step through. Okay. Now I'm going to move the affected extremity and the crutches at the same time, step 2. And do that doing a step through. All of this is 3-point weight bearing gait pattern. All right. Do we have anything left?
Swing through and swing 2.
Okay. This is a very uncommon one for somebody who has paraplegia and has braces on, and they're moving both feet at the same time. So this is the swing 2, and this is swing through, where you go past the crutches. So not a very common gait pattern. Okay, one more thing before I go, or we go. For the 3-point weight bearing, can you do that with a walker? Yes, this is very common to do with a walker. So I move the walker, affected and unaffected extremity. This is also called 3-point weight bearing gait pattern. Very common gait pattern. There is a variation on this. I could move the walker and the affected extremity at the same time. All right, you got all that?
Oh, yeah.
That's where we will pick